to episode 2 of PNIC's Wheel of Review. You can see that I've added some new units since last week's Wheel of Review, and that's because I've received more devices. Now, not every device will end up on the Wheel of Review, because if I receive a priority device, I'll review that and skip it over the Wheel of Review. But I want to make it more entertaining, I guess, for lack of a better term, for the options for the non-priority devices that are still fantastic devices in their own right, mostly, I assume. We'll find out as I get to them. But in the interim, let's find out what will happen for the second spin. Hey, all right, got the TrimUI Smart Pro. Looks like a PSP to me. So we'll find out about that right after this. Hey fam, Swati Tukong Pinik here, and as you just saw in the intro, the Wheel of Review landed on the TrimUI Smart Pro. Now, if you don't notice, this is very much a PS Vita. I said PSP for some reason, but very much a PSP clone. So you have my launch edition PSP that I got on launch in Toronto, Canada, and this is the third generation, because they actually had 3 different generations of the Vita. The third generation, that was a Japanese exclusive in like a lime green, yellow kind of color. So I want to see how it actually compares. I think it'll compare based on the photos to the third generation one, but we'll take a look at that. Now you'll notice that there's 3 different colors. They have a DMG color, a white color, and a black color. I'd love to hear down in the comments below, which one would you have picked? I originally picked a white one because I wanted to compare it to my white one, but they were sold out. So they said, hey, you can either wait for more stock to get in, or you can go with a DMG. So I went with the DMG. So let's take a look at the back of the case here. We got a nice device, as you can say. As I mentioned, you can see buttons kind of look similar. Sticks look kind of similar. Everything except for obviously the buttons. They don't use PlayStation's button configuration, but looks quite similar there. Speakers look to be in a different area, but again, that's okay. Nothing wrong with that. 2 joysticks, 4.96, or basically a 5-inch screen. They say it's an IPS LCD with stereo speakers. That's always a plus. Nice little box. So I haven't opened this box yet. I wanted to wait for this video to open this box because I wanted to give you my honest first impressions. So let's take a look. All right, there's our box. We'll put that over there, keep that in the shot, I suppose. Why not, right? First things, let's move that to the side. What do we got here? Instruction manual. Nice, breaks it down in English and in Chinese. How to switch views, how to search a game. Yeah. Nice little instructions there. How to add games and thumbnails. I like how they've broken this down to be very user-friendly. For NetPlay and other people via LAN, so internet. How to start NetPlay with other people via hotspot. UI operation, make a SD card content, good firmware updates, how to do those, function keys. Yeah, like I say, it looks like this is actually a pretty decent little how-to guide. Seems like fairly decent English as well. I don't see any of those, at least at first blush, anything that's grievously, strangely translated. One thing is, just like with the device that I just reviewed, do not use a fast charger. It's only the 10 watt, 5 volt, 2 amp charger. So just like our new friend, the RG35XX SP. So yeah, first blush, nice little manual there. Okay, we got USB-A to USB-C charger. How long is it? Wow, I'd say almost a yard or almost a meter. So good, almost probably 3-foot cable. So can't shake a stick at that. I haven't opened it up. I don't know if there's anything hiding underneath this tray, but let's take a look. No, it's stuck pretty well, so I'm going to guess no. So that's what we get in the box. Again, kind of what you expect for this price point, under $100 US. Our little console protector to protect the sticks and whatnot. So it has a film screen protector that I think I want to take off because, well, as you can see, it's already got some bubbles. Not the best installed, but that's all right. As you can see, the DMG there. So I get the black sticks and a black 4-way D-pad with, because it's DMG, red buttons like an original Nintendo. The buttons or the sticks are not exactly the same. If we look at it from an angle here, not exactly the same as a Vita, but very similar. And then now of course the Vita has larger L1 and R1 buttons, but the Vita also lacks the triggers. Now, thing I have to say is this is like a Nintendo Switch, so this is a click. It's like a digital button. There's no travel to it. It's not a true trigger in that sense. Let's take a look here. What do we have underneath? So on the original Vita, Sony had used a proprietary charging cable, and then they moved to micro USB, and of course this one being a new device has USB-C. Of course we had headphone jack. We still have a headphone jack, so that's good. Sony proprietary card slot still there on that device, and of course this has a standard micro SD card slot, so that's awesome. Love that. I love the function button is like a function toggle. There is a microphone. That's nice to see. And if you're one of those people that like lanyards, looks like you can add a lanyard fairly nicely there as well. Nothing on the side, just like on the Vita. Nothing on this side. Again, let's jump up here. So we have our power button. Again, you can see the original Vita had their power button, so kind of similar place on it. USB-C port. So you have USB here, DC for charging, and I'm guessing that's DC out for video, but I'll have to look through the manual again to be 100% certain. Got volume rockers, so you can see the Vita used individual buttons for volume versus this is a volume rocker. But all in all, very similar, but also very different at the same time. So TrimUI, you did good there. Let's give it its first boot. Okay, it has some juice there. The shoulders are a little bit clickier. I don't know if you can hear that. But face buttons are pretty quiet. Got some RGB around the thumbsticks, which we did not have on the Vitas. So, a little step up there. All right, start with 702 Atari 2600 games. 111 Atari 7800. Truth be told, the first console we ever owned was a used Atari 2600, and then we got a Nintendo, an original Nintendo NES when I was a kid. But again, those were both used when I was a kid. The first console that I ever owned that was truly mine, being the youngest in my family, was the original PlayStation. And since then, I have owned every PlayStation device released in North America, and one that was only released in Japan. Oh, look at that. We have 48 Dreamcast games. Easy RPG. Interesting. We have FB Neo, which is arcade games, I believe. There we go. There's the Famicom, which is the Japanese name of the original Nintendo. Sega Game Gear, 492 games. Game & Watch, which was also Nintendo. 53. Game Boy, over 1,800. Wow, that's impressive. Over 900 Game Boy Advance games, 700, almost 800 Game Boy Colors, more arcade games, Mega Drive, which is the Sega Genesis in North America, the Master System, which was the generation before the Genesis for Sega. As you can see, only 2 buttons, like an original Nintendo. Almost over 264 games. 604 Nintendo DS games. That's quite impressive. 150 or so Neo Geo, some Neo Geo Pocket, PC Engine, PC. I don't know what PCM is. I'll have to double check on that. Pico 8. If you're not familiar with Pico 8, it is a fantasy console. What that means is, as a fantasy console, is they never released hardware. They just gave specifications for what you need to be able to operate it and what the games can operate at. So just like if you were making a Nintendo game, but imagine there was no physical Nintendo. You could just make games and then make it available. That's what Pico 8 is. So it does have native Pico 8 support. However, 114 PSP games, almost 200 PlayStation games, almost 1,200 Super Nintendo games, Sega Saturn. I don't know what that one is, but I'll have to look it up. So a lot of games, and they've already done some catalogs here for us. So vertical shooters, Pokemon. Recents, obviously none because I haven't turned this on. Starts with 94% battery. That's pretty awesome. Okay, so we got our menu button up here. Got start and select over here. Let's try a menu. Okay, refresh ROMs. So if I added games, whatnot. Okay. Good. Again, this is my first time seeing it. But first impressions is this feels like a solid little device. I kind of wish it had the little nubs. I don't know if you can tell, but these are slightly indented, so it wasn't so flat for this, but looks good overall. Does have a little background music that I'm sure I can turn off as I figure it out. It says time is 6:01. It's actually 5:01, so the person was close to me, probably in China. That set the time, but I'll be able to change that. So I'd love to hear from you guys. What do you think down in the comments below? Is the TrimUI something you'd like to potentially get for yourself? Do you have any nostalgic memories of the PlayStation Vita? I remember I had a lot of nostalgic memories playing the Vita in Toronto while I was waiting for my best friend to arrive from Chile to Toronto. So it was a meaningful console for me for sure, and I look forward to seeing how this plays out. Let me know down in the comments below. You saw the list of consoles that's included on the 128 gigabyte SD card that I have on my device, but of course I can add more games. So let me know, are there some games that you'd love for me to try playing? And for my review, would you like to see me playing it in hand like I did in my last video? Would you like me to do video out and just record my screen? I want to know what you guys prefer because at the end of the day, this content is for you. Not for me, but for you. So with that said, I'm going to let you go for now. It's been a pleasure talking to you. This has been P-Nick.